Tennis.
Hi, tennis coach Robert here with CarlboTennis.com. Today we're going to talk about low to high and specifically using the legs, leg drive. We've heard about this low to high and I really didn't know what it was and so on. So I'm going to explain it to the best way I can. So hopefully it'll make some sense to you. So the way how I always, for the longest time, understood people to talk about low to high was you start down here and you come up. So we do low to high here. I rarely ever heard anything about the legs. And we have to remember that most of tennis is played with your legs. If you look at all the best tennis players in the world, you look at them physically, they have very, very big and strong legs. And they really don't have that big arms. Their arms are pretty small, pretty skinny, okay? There are some exceptions, but for the most part, the top guys, if you look at Roger Federer, you look at Djokovic, Nadal, they are very, very strong and well-developed legs, and their arms aren't that strong or not as big. So that tells us that when they're playing, they're using primarily their legs. If they're using their arms would be significantly bigger. But what I see all the time, of what I've understood from listening to people talk about low to high, is this motion. And if you see this motion here, it's pretty much just my arm. But I want you to think about it from a different perspective. So let's talk about a basketball player who's throwing a basketball into the basketball hoop. They will go ahead, and depending on the situation, they will bend their knees, so they start low and come up high, low to high. So that's going to help me to generate some force. So if I want to create, if you look at this from the side here, I'm in a position here, I'm low, and as I come forward, I'm coming up. Okay, so this is using my legs. I'm using my legs to generate force. If I bend my knees deep enough and propel myself up enough, I will end up jumping, and you see that with professional tennis players. So they go ahead, they get down low, and then they push themselves up, and that generates the force that comes up. So they generate a lot of power, spin, and so on from low to high. But similar to a person throwing a basketball, for example, you're doing a free throw, some guys will just get up on their toes, others will jump, and so on. So it's an individual thing. As we get older and risk of injuries and so on, we want to go ahead and play smart. We don't necessarily need that additional jumping unless we're very, very strong and stable. We don't want to go ahead and jump. It may happen by accident, but unless you're a good athlete and strong, you try to avoid it. You can generate a tremendous amount of power by just coming up, doing this motion here. And this motion, you can think of it almost like a shot put or throwing a medicine ball, but we're using this, rotating and using the glutes. So we want to make sure. And again, I want you to look at this racket situation. I got my racket back, made the unit turn here, I bend my knees, and I use my legs. And as I'm coming forward, I'm creating low to high. So I start here, and the racket comes up and then across. And it comes up with my legs. This motion should be smooth. It shouldn't be a jerky motion. The more jerky the motion is, the higher the chances are that I'm going to make a mistake. So I want to make this very, very smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and hit a couple of balls here. So my knees are bent and I come up. And this is going to help me with both power and spin. So I get here, and you're going to notice that I'm just coming up a little bit using my legs. So I bend my knees a little bit and come up. And this is going to help me to generate power and accuracy. I don't need to be jerky because that's going to create additional problems for me. I can hit the ball well with just bending my knees and rotating properly. So we go ahead here, bend the knees and propel with the legs up here. And I can hit the ball flat with power, and I can hit the ball with spin. Here's spin, and here's a flatter ball. So, but each one of these shots, it all depends on what happens at contact point, how I'm brushing up on the ball. Oh, that was a deep one there. That's going to create the spin also and the power. But each one of these shots requires low to high. If I want to, using the legs, if I go ahead and do this motion, I'm not generating, most of my power is going up. Okay? So I'm not creating forward power, this. Okay? And the chance of me hitting the ball hard and successfully is not going to be that good. I'm going to primarily hit the ball deep. People who do this low to high, the problem is they end up hitting the ball very, very short. And one of the things we want to do when we're playing tennis is get the ball deeper so that we can control the court much more. So we want depth. So we get here, low to high, bending the knees and coming up. I hope you found this video to be interesting and rewarding and helpful. So it's a different perspective on what most people consider low to high. So I want you to think about this and see how it applies. Bending your knees and coming up and using that as low to high. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.
For more information on Carlbo Tennis, visit www.carlbotennis.com. If you wish to email Coach Robert, please do so at robert@carlbotennis.com or visit his Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Carlbo Tennis. Tennis for the people.